What's up? What's up? Brian Edwards, MajorWager.com, coming to you Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern from Quincy, Florida. Never heard of it? You're not alone. I doing the uncle thing. My mom lives and grandmother live in Quincy, and my sister and 3 kids live in Tallahassee. I've been doing the grandson uncle family thing for a couple days, heading back to the beach in the next hour or so. But let's knock out a college hoops video on 2 p.m. Eastern, Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day to all the ladies out there. All right, I wrote an SEC notebook yesterday, a little bubble banter, and you can check it out on Major Wager. So right now, only 5 SEC teams are in the tournament. Joey Brackets of ESPN, Lunardi, their bracketology guru, released his latest today. So I'll go back to the SEC. I'll just give you his the bubble situation with his update today. The last 4 buys, which are 10 seeds and maybe 2 of them might be 11 seeds. USC, Virginia, Xavier, and Cincy. Big win for Cincy last night in overtime over Memphis, and Memphis is a part of the next 4 out. So that could be obviously we got a lot of basketball left, but that could be the make or break that has the Bearcats in and the Tigers and Penny Hardaway and company out. Okay, so last 4 buys again: Cincy, Xavier. Cincy centered in that last 4 buys. Virginia and USC. Last 4 in: Arkansas. We'll get back to them. They're fading fast. Well, they lost some close games. They're without Isaiah Joe, 16 points per game. He was averaging more than that. He went either scoreless or only had 2 points in one game. He only played 20 minutes. He was trying to play through that knee pain, which he eventually got scoped. I think it was early last week, like 10 days ago. And I heard 2 to 4 weeks on that prognosis. So, Arkansas maybe gets some leeway from the committee as long as he returns, and plays a game or 2 and is at his normal form. They've always said that going back decades, that they want to judge. If a team loses their best player for 5 games and they go 1-4, but then they get the best player back and the best player's back and healthy for the tournament moving on, they've always said they take that into account. Not that the losses don't count. The losses count. But, if it's between one team and the other, well, one team, they lost 4 games without their best player, and now they've done this since he's been back. They'll take that into consideration. So Arkansas, and they've got a big game coming up this weekend. We'll get into that in the SEC in a minute. So last 4 in: Arkansas, Indiana. Sweet. Shout out my man, Tom Ostrom. Arizona State, which beat Stanford last night, and Stanford is the other last 4 team in. So Stanford, who is fading fast. All right, first 4 out. My East Tennessee State Buccaneers, shout out to Mr. Jennings. Youngsters, look him up if you don't know him. Now, the Bucks can get an at-large, but they can certainly win their conference tournament as well. But so, in other words, their first 4 out if they don't win their conference tournament. VCU. VCU's had a rough couple weeks here, and not a whole lot of chances to really bolster that resume. So 0 more. I mean, they can't have any more losses to a subpar A10 squad. Minnesota, first 4 out, they got more than a half dozen chances against quality teams. Actually, I'm not looking at their schedule, but the only teams not in the top 100 of KenPom in the Big Ten are Northwestern and Nebraska. I'm almost positive on that. Pretty positive. I'm not looking at it right now, but I'm almost positive on that. And then Utah State, which may get a shot at San Diego State again. I think they've already lost to them twice. I know they lost to them, last Saturday or 2 Saturdays ago. Next 4 out: NC State, Richmond, Georgetown, and Memphis. Richmond and Memphis don't have a whole lot of, golden opportunities. But NC State has. Well, I'm not looking at their schedule again. So NC State and Georgetown have chances to get big wins and play themselves in. And more often than not, folks, it's teams playing themselves out than necessarily, especially when going from 64 to 68. All right, before we get to the SEC, let me give you your top ATS percentages in America. Alabama was there a week or two ago, but now they've fallen off. Now they're 7th at 17-7. At the top, the Ospreys of North Florida and Jacksonville, 19-6 to the number, 76%, best in the country. South Dakota State, 18-6. Yale, 15-5. Yale -4 tonight at Princeton. The over has hit in 6 straight for Yale. They are 7-4 straight up, 8-3 against the spread in 11 road assignments. And Princeton is on a nice run of their own. In fact, I tweeted it earlier. They're 9-2 straight up since December 14th, and they had one non-lined game. So I'm pretty sure it was either 8-2 against the spread or 9-1 against the spread since December 14th. Check my Twitter timeline at Vegas B. Edwards if you want that exactness. The Ben Jacobsons of Northern Iowa, 16-6-1 against the spread. Hofstra, 18-7 against the spread. SFP, St. Francis, Pennsylvania, 15-6-1. Then the Tide. Then North Texas at 17-7. Then Cal Baptist, 14-6-1. And then the Demons of Northwestern State, 14-6 against the spread. Trivia question: what state is Northwestern State in? 3, 2, 1, answer. LA. Not Los Angeles. Not Lower Alabama. Louisiana. And another trivia question, because Austin Peay is the next 11th team, 15-7-2. What's their mascot? 3, 2, 1. The Governors. All right. Fade list. The worst ATS teams in the country. The worst. Christopher Smith's alma mater, Stanford, 5-18-1 against the spread. I hope the ETSU locksmith has been fading his alma mater, because if so, he's doing well. Wagner, 5-17 to the number. Toledo, the Rockets, 6-17-1 against the spread. They're a 2.5-point home favorite tonight, non-televised, 7 Eastern. And listen to this, against Buffalo, and they are 1-10 ATS at home. 6-17-1 against the spread. I haven't seen Toledo play. I haven't seen Buffalo play. But I was just, there's not many games tonight. Just Ivy. I think there's 1 or 2. Davidson's at St. Bonaventure. But it's low major, or Maction is mid major. But I just, that 1-10 against the spread stood out to me, so I looked at it a little more. I haven't played it, but I might put a little nibble on Buffalo. I'm not a big guy playing teams that I haven't watched, but just looking at it on paper, it looks Buffalo to me. Okay, then we've got North Dakota, 6-16. Iona, the Gales, where have you gone, Jeff Rulin? 5-13-1 against the spread. Kennesaw State, which is north of Marietta, north of Atlanta, if you didn't know. 7-17 against the spread. Columbia, they're in action tonight. I'm not sure who they play. They're 6-14-1 against the spread. TCU, Jamie Dixon, 7-16 against the spread. And the defending champs, UVA, 7-16 against the spread. Lehigh also 7-16 to the number. And there we go. All right, let's go to the SEC. So, all right, according to Lenardi today, his latest update, Auburn is a 3 seed playing Winthrop in a 3-14 game. BBN, the Cats, 4-13 game, 4 seed against, did I not write down their opponent? Did I really not write that down? Hold on. I got it right here. Where's the 4 line? The 4 line. Yeah, North Texas, the Mean Green, who we just noted, because they're 17-7 against the spread. So if that matchup materializes, probably won't. These things change. But North Texas double-digit dog? Maybe. All right. LSU, who is not playing very well right now, all of a sudden. They played well at Auburn last Saturday. Did not. The 10-game winning streak ended at Vandy, and it snapped a Vandy, I want to say 26-game SEC losing streak. And they scored 90 points that game. They gave up 99 points. LSU, D up, dude. Will Wade, you're such a chafe. Get your guys to play defense. It's not like they're not athletic enough. My gosh, you got some of the best dunkers in the country. So LSU 7-10, Wichita State. So there's your only 3 locks in the SEC: Auburn, Kentucky, and LSU. That's it. And they're in a 3-way tie in the SEC. Not that matters a whole lot. But 9-2 apiece in SEC play, and South Carolina and Florida are 2 games back, 7-4. And we're going to get to South Carolina and Ole Miss, who got a lot. Well, Ole Miss is not going to make the tournament, but well, if they win at Rupp tomorrow, and then win out, maybe they would. Actually, they would if they won out, but they're not winning out. But they are covering numbers, and we're going to get to that. South Carolina and Ole Miss are covering numbers, as is Vanderbilt. And shout out to Stackhouse. I'm going to get to him in a minute. He's doing a hell of a job. He had 2 major injuries. We'll get to that in a second. Okay, so then you got bubble teams in the SEC. The bubble teams are Mississippi State, Alabama, Tennessee, South Carolina, Florida, and Arkansas. All right, right now, I mentioned Arkansas, the last 4 in with Lunardi. Lunardi had Florida in the last 4 buys, the last couple of updates. They are no longer a last 4 buy, but they're just barely below that. They're a 10 seed and would play Houston? Can't even read my own handwriting. Yeah, Houston, a 7 seed. So the other teams, Mississippi State, Bama, Tennessee, and South Carolina, they're not in the first 4 out or the next 4 out. But I guarantee you, all 4 are very close to that. If there's a next 4 out, I guarantee you at least 1 or 2 of them. Mississippi State would be in it. And look, South Carolina's got the 7-4 SEC record, but what is dragging Frank Martin's team down is 2 freaking deplorable home losses. One to Boston U, and the real major one, it was right after they had won at Virginia, letdown scenario. They lost at home to Stetson, the Hatters of Stetson, who the Hatters are number 295 out of 353 teams at Ken Palm. BU Boston is number 167. So South Carolina, top 100 K-Palm opponents, only 4-7. Their quality wins at Clemson, albeit by 13, at Virginia by 11, beat Kentucky at home by 3, won at Arkansas by 2. But here lately, now South Carolina is number 73 Ken Palm, but there's 65 net rankings. I wrote that column yesterday. Maybe I haven't looked today. Maybe it could have changed by a ranking or 2 if somebody close to them won or lost last night in Thursday's action. So the redshirt freshman, Jermaine Cousinard, out of Chicago, he has been the catalyst to the South Carolina resurgence. He had 28, a career best against Missouri. He dropped 26 in that game against Kentucky. South Carolina has won 7 of its last 10, 8-2 against the spread. And look, these wins have been blowouts. 5 of the wins have been by 14 or more. They won by 16, 20, 22, 26, and 14. And those are all SEC teams. And I know the SEC is down this year. Hell, I think everybody's down except the Big 10 and Big 12, really. Let me look at the conference breakdown from Lunardi here. So right now he's got the Big Ten with 11 teams, the Pac-12 with what? The Pac-12 has 6. What? Big East 6, SEC 5, Big 12 5, ACC 4, AAC 3. Oh wow! So BYU and St. Mary's are in. So 3 from the WCC and only 2 for the A10, which does not speak well for VCU and Richmond, who are in the first 4 out and the next 4 out, respectively, in Lunardi's latest update. Okay, so we hit on South Carolina a little bit. Let's talk about another SEC team that's hot, not for tournament purposes, but they've covered 6 in a row. It all started when they had that wild backdoor cover against LSU. And look, if you bet LSU the rest of the year and you've got a middle available at halftime, I'm not saying bet it the same amount as your original bet, but protect that bet about 30 or 40% because they've been backdoored a lot and they don't D up. So, yeah, the Rebels. Kermit Davis is doing a good job. They got off to a deplorable start in SEC play. I forget how many they lost. It was like the first 4 or 5, maybe even 6. Now, they had a couple guys were hurt. Tyree did not play at Florida when the Gators beat them 71-66. So, Ole Miss 6-0 against the spread. Tyree dropped 40 on Mississippi State in an 83-58 win Tuesday or Wednesday night. I think it was Tuesday. The so while they're 6-0 against the spread, Ole Miss is 4-2 straight up. They beat the brakes off of Hail State, like I just told you. They beat the brakes off my Gators 68-51. They boat raced South Carolina. Boat race is probably a stretch for 84-70 score. But anyway, and so in the 6-game ATS streak where they're 4-2 straight up, one of the outright losses, they led most of the game and lost by 1 in overtime to Auburn at home. And as we mentioned, Auburn would be a 3 seed right now. Okay. Yeah, so the Gators, and again, this was as of yesterday in terms of their net ranking and Ken Palm. Look, they won at Texas A&M by like 20. I think it was by 20. Don't I have the score right here? I think I do. Hold on. Yeah, or no, 17, 78-61. But A&M, I think their Ken Palm was north of -150 or north of a ranking of 150. So I wouldn't think Florida would get that much of a bump, but they did. They were number 46 in Ken Palm going into the A&M game Wednesday night, and now they're number 40 in Ken Palm, and the net rankings gave them a 6-notch or 6 ranking bump as well from number 44 to number 38. That was as of Thursday, yesterday. Again, not sure if it changed at all. My Gators are dedicating the court to Billy the Legend D. Donovan. All-Star break. He will be in Gainesville tonight. He will have the court dedicated to him tomorrow. Players coming back. I mean, it won't be the scene at Assembly Hall we saw last Saturday. And by the way, if you're a big Bobby Knight fan, or, I was a big Bobby Knight fan as a kid, as an adult, he went overboard quite a bit. But the pros outweigh the cons by a million. And you saw that with all the emotion and all the players that were back. I'm not saying Florida's going to have that many players back tomorrow, but there are going to be a lot of Gator greats in the house at the O-Dome at Billy Donovan Court, as they will name it, tomorrow night. I think they're having a dinner tonight where they unveil with him and his family and some close people there. They unveil and they see what it's going to look like on the court. Yeah, and the Gators host Vandy. Let me get back to Stackhouse. All right, he lost the SEC's leading scorer, Aaron Nesmith, in early January, was averaging 23 points a game. And let's remember, this team didn't win a game in SEC play last year. Okay, so he takes over, and they're not very good to begin with. but they're doing okay. They got Nesmith leading the SEC. Well, then he goes down, season-ending injury. Also, senior power forward Cleavon Brown, who was averaging 9 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 block shots per game, their rim protector. When he got hurt, they were 6-3 straight up, 5-4 against the spread. He's out and hadn't come back. I think it says indefinitely. I don't know if he'll be back, but so that's the situation. And then they go into Rupp Arena, lead almost the entire game, and cover like 3 weeks ago. Then they covered their next 3, including the win over LSU, the aforementioned 99-90W. And then they host Kentucky the other night. They race out to a 14-point lead. I tweeted it, or here I have it right here, I think. Yeah, I have it right here. Kentucky trailed until they didn't take their first outright lead as an 11-point favorite until 11:17 remaining at Memorial Gymnasium the other night. And they didn't get ahead of the number. Kentucky was minus 11 until there was 2:26 left. They ended up winning by 14. Vandy went cold, launching threes and then fouling, playing the clock game late, time and score. And so Kentucky ended up covering. But Vandy is playing good basketball, and a hat tip to Jerry Stackhouse. He's doing a heck of a job. And if Vandy's catching double digits tomorrow to Florida, I like the Doors. God, we're already 21 minutes in. All right, just a couple of really quick. Okay, let me give you some over/under info on some SEC teams. The over's 8-0 run for Arkansas. The over's on a 14-5 run for the Gators. But their game at Vandy a few weeks back was a 61-55 game that went under. I made Florida. I wrote down 7.5 or 8. But I won't be surprised if it's 10 or more, and if it is, Vandy. And the under is actually on a 7-3 surge for the Commodores. The over is on a 16-5 run for Mississippi State. I've made Kentucky an 8.5-point favorite against Ole Miss tomorrow, but if they're double digits, I like the Rebels, Brian, Tyree, and company. Missouri guard Mark Smith has missed 4 games in a row due to a knee injury. He's questionable Saturday against Auburn. He averages 10.9 points, 4.3 rebounds per game. His three-point percentage is like 37 or 38 and change, but last year he shot better than 45% from downtown, and Jeremiah Tillman is out indefinitely for Mizzou with a foot injury. He was averaging 8.5 points, 4.2 rebounds, and 1.3 blocked shots per game. The SEC TV schedule tomorrow. Mississippi State at Arkansas. Enormous game at Bud Walton Arena for both teams. 1 p.m. Eastern, SEC Network. Ole Miss goes into Rupp Arena with a 6-0 ATS run. 2 o'clock Eastern, ESPN. Georgia at Texas A&M. Georgia got obliterated by South Carolina at Stegeman the other night. Tom Crean's not doing a very good job of that team. I mean, he's done a good job of recruiting the talent. Best recruiting Georgia's had in decades since Hugh Durham. He's not coaching them up very well, though. And he's getting big crowds, too. They were playing very well at home until I backed them that Saturday afternoon against Ole Miss like 3 weeks ago. Georgia at A&M, little scrub game, 3:30, SEC Network. Anthony Edwards might show out. LSU at Bama, 4 p.m. Eastern, ESPN2. Coleman Coliseum will probably be rocking. Huge game for the Tide, who fought back from a 16-0 deficit at Auburn the other night, got the game to overtime, and ended up losing. Wow, that total is going to be enormous. That LSU at Alabama total, if it's anything less than 165 over, it might be 170. I'd make it one. I'd have to go look at some. So I haven't really thought about that total. But LSU games have been very, very high scoring lately. Auburn at Mizzou, 6 p.m. Eastern, ESPN2. Tennessee at South Carolina. Huge game for both teams. Basically must win for both teams. And Vandy at UF. You have my thoughts on that. And I think I covered most of there's some other things in my column. So go check that out. Yeah, Mississippi State had covered 7 in a row, but now they have failed to cover in 3 in a row. I got some other good trends in there. Check it out. MajorWager.com. I'm Brian Edwards. Happy Friday. Happy Valentine's to all the ladies. Over and out.